Kidney beans are a nutritious source of plant-based protein. Of course, you can buy them canned, but it's even cheaper when you make them from scratch. Don't be intimidated about cooking dried beans. I'm going to show you step by step how exactly to cook dried kidney beans and make them into a delicious kidney bean stew. To make this meal even better, I'm going to serve it over millet cauliflower mash, which is a delicious side dish, and it's very similar to mashed potatoes, but you get the benefits of a high-protein grain called millet. Hi, I'm Christine Waltermeyer, and I'm the founder of the Natural Kitchen Cooking School. Here on Christine's Natural Kitchen, I bring you weekly recipes that are as delicious as they are healthy. All right, without further ado, let's get into making this delicious vegetarian entree. So this is 1 cup of kidney beans that I soaked in water to cover by 1 inch or 2 overnight, or 6 to 8 hours. Now I'm going to use a fine mesh strainer and strain the water off. So there are 3 different ways you can cook dried beans from scratch. You can just use a regular pot like this. You can use a pressure cooker or an instant pot. That's only going to take 10 minutes of cooking time, so that's a real time saver. If you cook them in the pot, they'll take about 1 hour to cook. And if you want to cook them overnight or while you're at work or just, throughout the day, you can always use a slow cooker. This is probably an older model, but any type of slow cooker will work, and it will take about 6 hours in a slow cooker. But the great thing is you can just put them in there and just let them do their thing. For this demonstration, I'm going to make this fast and use a pressure cooker. Like I said, the pressure cooker and the Instant Pot are pretty interchangeable. To make these beans really digestible, I'm going to use my little secret ingredient called kombu. It's a sea vegetable, and if you can find it at your local health food store, it really will help to make beans more digestible. So we have our drained kidney beans in the pressure cooker. I've got my piece of kombu underneath. I soaked this kombu for about 10 minutes. It was like a 1-inch size piece or so, actually 2 of them. And I just soaked it in some water, and you can see that it really expanded. So I'm just going to tuck those guys under there. It's probably a little much on the kombu. You could probably just put 1 piece like that, but what the heck. Now I'm going to add some water, and you want to add just enough water to cover it by maybe just like a 1/2 inch or so. And now I'm going to place the lid on top and bring it up to full pressure on high heat. So once your pressure cooker or Instant Pot has come to full pressure, you just want to turn the heat down to low and cook it for about 10 minutes. The timer's been going for a little bit, but it will be done in 10 minutes. So now my pressure came down after the 10 minutes of cooking time. I turned off the heat and released the pressure. Now I'm going to remove the lid, and we have perfectly cooked kidney beans. I'm going to make a little mini batch, like a 1/2 batch of millet, but if you have a bigger family, you can make the full recipe. So this is 1/2 cup of millet. You can see it's a small yellow grain. I soaked it for a little bit, kind of absorbed the water. I needed a bigger container to soak it in, but I'm going to rinse it at this point. And you can just, if you are soaking it, just soak it for maybe 1 or 2 hours. You could even soak it overnight. This helps to make it more digestible, but you don't have to. You can just rinse it. So I put my cauliflower in there, and I'm just being lazy. I literally just cut the cauliflower head in half. You don't really have to chop it up. So I just put the whole thing in there, 1 big piece. And now I'm adding my millet. And I'm going to add 2 cups of water, or you could add vegetable broth. Add a few little shakes of sea salt. Cover it and bring it up to a boil over high heat. So we have a nice rolling boil going on the millet and cauliflower. We're going to cover that, turn it down to cook on low for about 25 minutes. So our millet and cauliflower is finished cooking. I'm going to take a potato masher and just mash the heck out of it. And at this point, feel free to add some vegan butter or butter of your choice, or you can skip it. I'm also adding a little bit of olive oil just because it gives it a nice flavor. But again, you can skip this if you're doing oil-free. I'm also adding additional salt and pepper. But there too, do what works for you. If you're on a low sodium diet, you want to skip the extra salt, no problem. And then a little black pepper. And just keep on mashing. This could be cooled down and put through a food processor if you really want to get it nice and smooth, but I don't mind a little bit of texture in here. It's not going to get perfectly smooth. You're probably going to have a little bit of the cauliflower texture, but I think that's kind of nice. So in this pot, in any large soup pot, you want to heat up your tablespoon of olive oil, or if you're doing oil-free, just heat up a little bit of vegetable broth. Then add your ½ cup of chopped scallions, 2 cloves of minced garlic. And we're going to just cook and stir these for a few minutes by themselves. Now I'm going to add my carrots. That's 1 cup of chopped carrots, and my celery and squash. And I'm going to put the amounts in the recipe, and I'll link to the recipe below this video. But I want to say that was roughly 1 cup of chopped winter squash and 1/2 to approximately 1 cup of chopped celery. And now we're going to add the cooked kidney beans and their cooking liquid. And here's the kombu. You can keep the kombu sea vegetable in there if you want to chop it up finely and then add it back in, or you can discard it. You can think of it like a bay leaf where you can just toss it out, figuring it kind of gave what it had to the dish. Either way is fine. This time I'm going to take it out. I'm going to add a ½ teaspoon of ground cumin and a little black pepper. Feel free to add more seasoning if you like. And then I'm going to add my liquid, which you can add 4 cups, roughly 4 cups. It depends how much cooking liquid you have left over, but 4 cups or so of either water or vegetable broth. It's basically enough to cover everything by maybe like ½ inch. You may not even need that much liquid. It's just kind of use your intuition. Once you have a full boil going on your stew, you're going to cover it lightly. This is a pressure cooker that I'm cooking it in, but I'm not really pressure cooking it. I'm just using it as a soup pot. So I'm just going to lightly put the lid on and cook it for about 20 minutes on low heat. So I'm turning the heat down, reducing that to low, and simmering it for 20 minutes. I want to tell you about a thickener I'm going to use called kuzu. It's like cornstarch, only it's a really high quality ingredient. It's going to be more expensive than cornstarch, but they say that it has really alkalizing effects. It's great for digestion, and it's just all around a good product to use. It even helps to curb sweet cravings, supposedly. So yeah, so I've got some cornstarch here. It comes in big chunks like that. And what you want to do is dissolve it just like you would cornstarch. So I put a couple teaspoons in a cup, and I added a couple tablespoons of cold water, and I just stir it around until it's dissolved. And then I'll add that toward the end of the cooking time to thicken the stew. Okay, so our stew's been cooking for 20 minutes. Now we're going to add our thickener. This is the diluted kuzu, or you can use cornstarch instead. And just stir that in there and let it thicken for a few minutes. And if you find that you want it thicker, you can definitely add more of your thickener. At this point, we're also going to add our salt, and that's about a teaspoon of sea salt. I want to get this the least bit thicker, so I am going to add another teaspoon of diluted thickener. That's how it goes with cooking. It's just kind of intuitive, you know, sometimes your liquid portions are slightly different, and you just need to make little adjustments. Same thing with the seasoning. If you find you want it a little bit more flavorful, just feel free to add more seasoning. While that's coming up to a boil, I'm going to chop up some parsley for my garnish. Now we're going to ladle the finished stew over a little scoop of our millet cauliflower mash. And we're just going to touch it off with a little bit of chopped parsley. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to make kidney bean stew with millet cauliflower mash. I also hope you try making this recipe yourself. Comment below what your favorite bean is. Also, if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching and happy cooking!